Vietnamese young man successfully builds spacecraft, shocking experts. Welcome dear viewers to the latest episode of Top Secret. Ladies and gentlemen, Vietnam has long been famous for its tradition of studiousness and eagerness to learn. Through thousands of years of history, our country has produced many outstanding talents in all fields, contributing to glorifying the nation's culture and history. Today, Vietnam continues to produce young, talented, and passionate talents. They are dedicating themselves to the country's development. From science and technology, education, healthcare, economy to culture, arts and sports. Among them, we must mention the Vietnamese young man who successfully built a spacecraft, admired by the whole world. So who is this guy? Is that spacecraft really built by him? Besides this spacecraft, what other inventions has he created? All will be answered right in this episode of Top Secret. The person Top Secret wants to mention is Phan Gia Ven. The name Phan Gia Ven is no stranger to the model aircraft community in Vietnam. Ven is the head of the Northern Model Aircraft Club, with hundreds of aircraft models loved by young people. However, few know that young man Phan Gia Ven, born in 1983, is also the director of several companies specializing in researching and producing drones in Vietnam. Since age 10, with a passion for exploring model aircraft and electronics, Ven disassembled quite a few household items, thanks to his understanding and passion for making electronic models. In class, Ven was given the affectionate nickname, the Electronic Wizard. After graduating high school, Ven went to France to study industrial electricity, electronics, and here, Ven passionately researched drones. Even though at that time, this technology was quite new, he learned to write software, manufacture hardware, even imported foreign technology to make drones. Graduating with a master's degree with excellent results in France, Phan Gia Ven was invited to work by many organizations in France and Europe with attractive salaries, but he refused. Gia Ven decided to return to Vietnam to start a business at age 25. He established Dong Gia Research and Development Company, specializing in producing drones, robots, and high-tech products with values suitable for Vietnam's conditions. Phan Gia Ven established Dong Gia Company in 2008. Initially with only 6 engineers and limited capital, the dream of these young people was to produce spacecraft, a very new field in Vietnam. The theory of building spacecraft was difficult, but finding materials, assembling and testing was even harder. Famous since being an industrial electricity and electronics student, president of the Vietnamese Student Association in Rennes City, France, Phan Gia Ven still decided to return to Vietnam to realize his dream of self-researching and manufacturing drones. Ven began developing various types of unmanned aircraft and flying vehicles. The first products were automatic and semi-automatic drones, M94, M96, Surrey anti-aircraft training. The idea to create flying devices at 3 to 5 times the altitude of conventional aircraft formed around February 2014. In just over half a year, he and his colleagues realized the idea, producing the spacecraft, which experts evaluated as a breakthrough step, opening great opportunities for Vietnam's young space technology industry. Up to now, what I have achieved is doing what I wanted and feeling that my work is useful. The path I chose since childhood, stemming from liking, curiosity and disassembling things. Passion for aviation and electronics has brought endless lessons, from mechanics to electronics. More complex is aviation engineering. I always had to ask myself questions and find answers. He confided. After presenting to a potential customer, they were ready to open public bidding. Phan Gia Ven's company won the contract to produce and test a flying device model and precision recovery system for scientific research. Although aware that the world already has many similar devices widely used in testing and experimenting with aviation and aerospace equipment, Ven still decided to research and develop a made-in-Vietnam aircraft with outstanding differences. The distinctive feature of the flying device manufactured by the company is its ability to precisely recover the equipment after completing tasks, avoiding loss and reducing search and recovery costs, keeping expensive measuring equipment installed inside safe, observing Earth from an altitude of 23 kilometers in just over half a year. Pham Gia Vinh and his colleagues successfully manufactured a 600 kilograms flying device with a flight range of 30 to 50 kilometers. The flight duration could last up to 1 week. In the early days of the year, Vinh quietly took the flying device abroad for test flights. He collaborated with a Singapore technology company, university, and research institute to conduct the first test flight. In addition to testing the device, Pham Gia Vinh also partnered with a hospital in Singapore to experiment on white mice to examine cellular-level changes in near-space environment for drug development. In this test flight, we collaborated with our partner country's research center to send 3 mice for experimentation in the space environment. Pham Gia Vinh said that overcoming many difficulties, the first spacecraft was born in 2014, and in March 2015, the spacecraft was tested at the Indian test range. The white mice were placed in the spacecraft, and if they survived and returned, it meant the test was successful. As the test mice began to leave the ground, we hoped our predictions were correct. We hoped no major errors would occur, and when those mice returned safely, we were very happy, Gia Vinh expressed. In the first test, Vinh's product met 80% of requirements and was highly evaluated by partners and customers. Among these, the device's flight ceiling reached 23 kilometers with a flight radius of 150 kilometers over 7 hours. Pham Gia Vinh stated that this altitude far exceeds the operational range of existing commercial aircraft on the world market. In the coming weeks, we will continue testing for higher flight altitudes with the goal of surpassing the 30 kilometers flight ceiling, the young director shared about new plans. The biggest advantage of Vinh's product is the ability to control the landing position of the landing module. This is precisely what made his company win in international bidding projects. If similar products from other companies worldwide can only be recovered using parachute assistance, this product can recover the landing module relatively accurately. We can control the device's landing within a range of 50 to 80 kilometers with an error margin below 50 meters. Therefore, the landing module descending to the ground will not affect people, houses, and ground structures, as well as recover expensive research equipment. Pham Gia Vinh explained about this new feature, a huge opportunity for aerospace technology industries of this flying device. According to Pham Gia Vinh, it can be used in many fields, from serving national defense security to civilian scientific research purposes. With a flight range from 30 to 50 kilometers, this device allows conducting medical, environmental experiments, and studying Earth's upper atmosphere. From that altitude, the flying device can send data and multispectral images directly to the scene. Scientists can study water sources, land green coverage, and observe crop disease pathogens. This flying device can also carry observation equipment, study near space, and carry research equipment in near space environment. The device can also test satellite equipment, cameras, antennas, radar, etc., before integration and deployment into space. At an altitude of about 30 kilometers, this device will help scientists easily observe and study the formation and path of storms. The advantage of these devices is that they can transmit data faster than satellites by sending collected images directly to Earth. In the field of information security, when satellites fail, the flying device can be used as a relay transceiver for 1 week to serve repairs. Additionally, the flying device can serve as radar systems for defense and scientific research. Furthermore, the flying device can carry cameras to capture high-resolution images transmitted to Earth. A wide-angle photo can cover an area of 50 by 50 kilometers, equivalent to the area of Ho Chi Minh City and neighboring provinces. A narrow-angle photo taken from the flying device with high resolution helps display details under 10 centimeters. Shooting from this altitude can observe someone's forgotten shoe on the road, Vinh confidently revealed. In the recent test at 23 kilometers altitude, this flying device helped Vinh see the Earth's curvature. Seeing the boundary between the dark part of space and the bright Earth's rim, when the device was brought back, Vinh viewed the eye-pleasing high-resolution photos. The spacecraft by engineer Pham Gia Vinh's team placed Vietnam on the very short list of countries capable of producing spacecraft with flight altitudes over 30 kilometers, including the US, France, and Japan. Previously, I could only see those images on TV or online, but now I can see them directly recorded by my own device. Happy, ecstatic, no words to describe it, Phan Gia shared. Some say he is the second Vietnamese to directly observe Earth after Hun Pham Tuan. In science, vague questions will hardly lead to optimal results. Only when seeing the essence of the problem and posing the right question will we select the appropriate solution. That is Phan Gia's revelation about the secret to success in manufactured spacecraft. The manufacturing and operation of unmanned aerial vehicles reaching high altitudes of 30 kilometers is technically complex technology. First is material technology. To reach an altitude of 30 kilometers, the aircraft must fly through the troposphere of the atmosphere. In this atmospheric layer, the temperature gradually decreases to as low as minus 50 degrees Celsius to minus 80 degrees Celsius. The biggest challenge lies in controlling and managing the aircraft, Vin explained. After many sleepless nights researching, Vin found the pivotal question. The problem to solve here is the device continuously gaining altitude and exploding like a weather balloon. With the key issue resolved, Ben and his team began finding solutions through many approaches and practical designs. Speaking about the secret to creating stratospheric flights comparable to advanced countries, he said, basically, we use a type of balloon that serves as a lifting vehicle because at 30 to 50 kilometers altitude, the air is very thin, normal aircraft cannot fly. But the process, methods, and material manufacturing technology are very different and complex. The volume of this balloon is very large, can reach over 1 million cubic meters. During the solution-finding process, Vin and the Vietnamese engineering team discovered the correct answer and proceeded to manufacture the spacecraft. The discovery was drawn from existing experience and knowledge plus a bit of luck. Phan Gia then stated the immediate goal of the group is to perfect the technology for aircraft operating in the stratosphere. He wants to be one of the first units in Vietnam capable of sending people to the stratosphere, aspiring for its use in Vietnam, the young director affirmed. This device costs much less than airplanes and satellites, making it very suitable for Vietnam's economic conditions. Gia then also wants to export made-in-Vietnam spacecraft back to Europe. Despite many difficulties, Vin's startup has become the first company in Southeast Asia to produce spacecraft that fly into space. This technology, I think we must have it. That's also the reason I decided to return to the country. If implemented in practice, Vietnam will be the first country in Southeast Asia to apply this technology. The talented young director also expressed willingness to cooperate with authorities and technology corporations in Vietnam to develop flying products serving military and civilian purposes. Recently, Phan Gia Vin and the research team of Vietnam Dong Giang Joint Stock Company have been in Alice Springtown, Australia, preparing for the next flight of the spacecraft, fully named Stratospheric Aircraft into the sky. At exactly 6 a.m. local time on April 27, which is about 3:30 a.m. Hanoi time, the aircraft will carry the pilot into the stratosphere, with an expected flight altitude of about 22 kilometers. Initially, the group planned to do this on April 24th but was postponed due to air traffic control requirements. The location for launching Vietnam's spacecraft into space is a desert area 20 kilometers south of Alice Springs, Australia. This flight is expected to last 2 hours, aiming to confirm the device's stability, ensuring safety for those inside. All ground system test runs, including those with pilots inside, were completed several days ago. The entire equipment will be moved to the flight area for deployment and waiting, Mr. Vin said. After a year of waiting, it's also time to review, check, and evaluate the entire process and system. This year, at all costs, we will send people to space but will ensure absolute safety for the pilot, Mr. Vin emphasized. At 4 a.m. on May 16, Vietnam's first spacecraft successfully flew at a 25 kilometers ceiling and transformed into a telecommunications satellite. From the desert in Alice Springtown, Australia, Master Phan Gia Vin, head of the stratospheric aircraft design and manufacturing team, said, Vietnam's first spacecraft was launched into the near space environment and operated stably at 25 kilometers altitude, simulating a telecommunications satellite. The aircraft left the ground at 4 a.m. When this information was published, the telecommunications satellite simulation test was still ongoing. It's expected that around 10 a.m., the spacecraft will land back on Earth. According to Fan Jiavin, the aircraft was brought into the near space environment by a balloon. When reaching a predetermined altitude, the balloon will automatically detach from the aircraft. At that point, the spacecraft will operate independently, performing tasks controlled from the ground. The spacecraft was test flown within a 200 km radius with a minimum flight ceiling of 28 km, flight time about 5 hours. The stratospheric aircraft manufacturing project is linked with Singapore's Ingenert company. The team's spacecraft successfully completed its first test flight at Alex Spring on May 16, 2016. At a flight ceiling of 25 km, in May 2017, the spacecraft was granted permission by Australia for Phase 2 testing, the phase carrying humans into space. This event marks a new development step in testing flying equipment. Manufactured by Fan Jiavin's Zhejiang company and Vietnamese engineers, because the licensing for unmanned aerial vehicles is conducted in Phase 2. In a developed country like Australia, this is not at all simple. Master Fan Jiavin signed up for his unmanned aerial vehicle to be able to conduct test flights in Australia. It must meet the strictest requirements according to world-leading standards. This event marks a new development step in testing flying instruments. Manufactured by Fan Jiavin's company and Vietnamese engineers, for his unmanned aerial vehicle to be able to conduct test flights in Australia, it must meet the strictest conditions according to world-leading standards. Immediately after that, Minister of Science and Technology Nguyen Quang, along with aviation experts, had a meeting with Fan Jiavin to listen to proposals supporting him in the manufacturing process and testing of the Tang Bin Lu flying instrument. Master Wu Kwok Hor, deputy head of the Aerospace Engineering Department at the Institute of Mechanical Engineering, Hanoi University of Science and Technology, assessed this review in the process of aerospace scientific research. With a flight range from 30 to 50 kilometers, this device allows conducting medical experiments, environmental studies, and research on Earth's upper atmosphere. This flying instrument can also carry observation equipment, space research equipment, and carry research equipment in the near space environment. The instrument can also test satellite equipment such as cameras, antennas, radar, etc. before integration and deployment into space at an altitude of about 30 kilometers. This device will help scientists easily observe and study the formation and path of storms. The advantage of this device is that it can transmit data back faster than satellites, by directly sending collected images back to Earth. In the field of information security, when satellites fail, the flying instrument can be used as a signal transceiver station for 1 week to serve repairs. Additionally, the flying instrument can serve as radar systems for defense and scientific research. Conducting research is a relatively risky and substantial investment in terms of time, effort, and money. Despite many failures, I always believe there is light at the end of the tunnel, and find ways to spread that belief to the research engineering team. Personally and as a company, we are still in the stage of proving our capability, building our own knowledge base and technology to attract actual customers. Vin confided. The story of the 8X guy and his colleagues successfully manufacturing the Vietnamese microchip that flew into space has ignited a belief in us. Scientific research is not only concentrated in research institutes or science centers. Groups and individuals, sometimes considered outsiders, still always possess creativity and continuous dedication, believing that scientific research should and will be socialized, originating from all possible resources. That belief grows even stronger with the story of this talented 8X director. Please subscribe to the PNLiVo channel so you don't miss exciting videos.